All right, coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at 5 players the Philadelphia 76ers could sign in free agency via the buyout market. Now, let's set the foundation here because for players to be eligible for the NBA playoffs, they do have to be picked up by March 1st. So 2 weeks up until that point. And yes, the Sixers did sign Dwayne Deadman via the buyout market, but this does not mean that the Sixers are going to be kept from maybe signing other players via the buyout market if some quality players become available. For Dwayne Deadman, going to be one of the backup centers on this roster, a classic 5 if you were to look at the old school type of NBA. Doesn't shoot the rock at all, solid rebounder. I think he's a little bit washed, but Sixers were desperate for some backup center help, and Dwayne Deadman is going to be that guy. So with that, I want to set this question up for you. Name a player that you think the 76ers should sign for a player who's either available right now or could become available. Let us know down below and drop that name. Buyout candidate number 1, John Wall. I was looking at some numbers yesterday. The Houston Rockets are paying like $40-50 million or something in that neighborhood to players who aren't even participating on their basketball roster. John Wall, one of them. Obviously, he was with the Houston Rockets last year, did not play, signed with the Los Angeles Clippers, and then they decided to trade him away to the Houston Rockets, and there's just no way that given the previous history between Wall and this Houston organization that he's going to be a part of their future plans or their immediate plans. And this year, John Wall was really just okay for Los Angeles. I was intrigued by the signing just because he was going to a team with a lot of talent and ended up averaging 11.5 points per game. But here's the problem with John Wall, and this has honestly been the problem for him. It's a lack of efficiency from the floor. Sub 41% from the deck, hovered around 30% from long range. This is a player kind of like Russell Westbrook, great athleticism, never really evolved, and because of that, the game passed him by to a certain degree, and for John Wall, the injury certainly didn't help. Still has some athletic explosion. If you were to come in off the bench, maybe he gives Philadelphia a little bit of that athletic juice, but honestly, you have Tyrese Maxey coming off the pine. You have DeAnthony Melton coming off the bench as well. I think that the bench unit has been fortified at that guard spot for Philadelphia. I would not do this, but certainly an interesting name. So what do you think? You're in the shoes of Daryl Morey. You signing John Wall? S for sign, P for pass. Voice your opinions down below and be bold about it. Next up, Will Barton, also known as Philly Will, I believe, does have some Philadelphia ties and hangs out in the city a lot with some basketball trainers. I know he works with Chuck Ellis a little bit, but this is a player who actually might be a better addition than John Wall because you're not asking him to do as much as John Wall, and he might be a little bit more low maintenance. Now, I am surprised that his career has fizzled out to a certain degree. A couple of years ago, I thought he was a pretty good rotation piece for the Denver Nuggets, but since then, hasn't really done all that much. This year, sub 8 points per game, 39% from the hardwood, 38% from long range on about 3.5 3-point attempts per night. He actually is a little bit twitchier at this stage of his career, most likely, than John Wall. This is a guy who could maybe come in and give you around 10 minutes per game for a playoff type of contender, but I think that he might try to go somewhere else in which he gets more minutes. Now, if a Sixers signing does happen, just like a trade happened last week for Matisse Thybulle or that signing of Dwayne Deadman on Monday, we have you covered right here on 76ers Now, and you can see here with our channel history, with things starting to ratchet up a little bit, we've been pushing out some more content. Make sure you subscribe today and lock us into all my Philly Bulls. Serge Ibaka is certainly an interesting player, and he's had some interest out there on the market. Last couple of years, I've been really concerned by that back injury. I thought him going to the Milwaukee Bucks was going to be a solid pickup, but really didn't end up doing anything, nor was he getting a lot of minutes. And I think that the best days for him has certainly passed him by. A couple of years ago, we know in 2019, he was actually pretty good for the Toronto Raptors en route to them winning the NBA championship. 4 points per game this year for Serge. Can shoot the three just a little bit, but honestly, rim protection and shot blocking. I'm actually somewhat surprised that the Sixers look to go the Dwayne Deadman route as compared to Serge Ibaka, but I think once the playoffs come around, we're going to see that both Deadman and Serge Ibaka, if he does land on a roster out there, both going to be playoff liabilities. So with the pickup of Dwayne Deadman, are you still concerned about the backup center role on this basketball team? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Before we continue to move forward with this list, why don't you move forward with this deal? This fresh Allen Iverson Mitchell & Ness Hardwood Classics throwback is available right now for 30% off. I remember being at Stetson Middle School in Westchester, Pennsylvania, rocking this back in the day because every year I was basically getting the new iteration of the Allen Iverson jersey with the AI kicks. 30% off chatsports.com/Iverson. Save some money. It looks fresh in the process with this all-time basketball legend and a Philadelphia hero. George Hill, the first spurt that he had with the Sixers wasn't all that good, and it's going to bring back some memories of the Sixers losing in the second round of the Atlanta Hawks, which was probably their best opportunity to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and or win an NBA championship since 2001. Yes, that 2019 team against the aforementioned Toronto Raptors was pretty good, but George Hill missed a couple of big free throws in that series, and I thought that when he was on the floor, the Atlanta Hawks really did target him. It's so funny because over the last couple of years, George Hill has been that guy who championship and playoff level teams have brought in to kind of be a number 2, number 3, number 4 guard coming in off the bench, and now he might struggle to find some work. But George Hill, I'm really good on him. I wasn't really impressed with what he did back a couple of years ago for Philadelphia, and there's a reason why all these guys are available on this list, because they're frankly not all that good, and they're teams that either have them now or let them go. Obviously didn't see much from them for them to be on that respective roster. A player who I am intrigued by is Kevin Love, because I do think the Sixers could use a little bit of a stretch four. A guy who can hang out around the three-point arc. He can knock down some threes. Last year, he was actually really, really good, and it looked as though maybe that was going to be that one season that gave him some extra life at the end of his NBA career. He's kind of fallen off a little bit this year, though. Been in the league for a minute. When he was at the Minnesota Timberwolves, he was certainly a lot pudgier, but he was putting up unbelievable numbers. And then when he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, never quite put up those numbers, but was a solid sidekick to LeBron James. At this point in his career, if he comes in and plays 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes per night, he has good instincts in rebounding the basketball. Could he be rejuvenated a little bit by going to a place like Philadelphia where the three-point numbers just go up by the byproduct of him being a little bit more focused in and out of that rotation for a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's obviously one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference? Speaking of the Eastern Conference, can the Sixers make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? I jokingly refer to the Sixers as the second-round Sixers because they can't get past that second round. Will this be the year? 1 for yes, 0 for no, because if they go down again, it's going to be yet another Philadelphia sports heartbreak. The Eagles losing the Super Bowl. I'm still bent. Sound off with what you think down below, and as always, we appreciate you for watching the show.